Hey y'all, today we're going to be making some Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. So to start off with, we're going to marinate our meat overnight. Now I got some flank steak. You can use whatever kind of cut of meat you want to use. A lot of people use sirloin, but I find that I have to cut so much fat off of it that I lose a lot of the meat, so I decided I'd try flank steak this time. So of course, I washed my meat up. And then we're going to go ahead and put it in a Ziploc bag, and then we're going to add a little seasoning to it. I'm going to put a little bit of garlic powder, some onion powder, and you can use whatever seasonings you like, but I like the flavor of this, so that's why I use this. And then I added just a little bit of salt and pepper, and then we're going to add some Worcestershire sauce. Now, you can add as much as you want. I add probably about 3 tablespoons, quarter of a cup, roughly that amount. So, but use however much you want. If you feel like you want to put more in there, feel free. But this was a good amount for the amount of steak that I had. So once you get everything in your Ziploc bag, just go ahead and seal it up, and then you're going to want to just mix that around real good. Make sure you get it between your pieces of meat and everything, just to make sure that both of your steaks are real good and coated, or however many you're using. So the next day, when we get ready to cook these, we're going to go ahead and chop up our vegetables. Now, I like bell pepper and onion in mine. If you don't like bell pepper in yours, you don't have to use it. A lot of people add mushrooms. I'm not the biggest mushroom fan. I know I'll use a lot of cream of mushroom, and I don't mind it that way. But otherwise, I'm not a huge mushroom fan, so I go with bell peppers and onions, and I just use 2 bell peppers. They're kind of a medium size, they're not real big, and then just like a medium size onion. And you're just going to want to get these all diced up. And again, it's preference. If you like big pieces or if you like strips, you can certainly do it that way. But I like smaller pieces in my Philly cheesesteak, so that's what I did. And like I said, you're just going to chop up your bell pepper, chop up your onion, or whatever other stuff you're going to throw in there. And then we're going to go ahead and just sit that over to the side until we're ready for it, because we have got to get our steak ready. Now, if you have a sharp knife that will cut a steak real good, then you'll be fine. You do need a sharp knife regardless, but if you feel like your knife may not be quite, as sharp or whatever, and if your meat's going to wiggle around, you can definitely put your steaks in the freezer for a few minutes, and, so they'll get a little bit stiffer and maybe a little bit easier for you to cut. But mine are straight out of the refrigerator. So what I did is, of course, make sure if you're using flank steak especially, cut it across the grain. You don't want big, stringy pieces of meat in here. So, and I've also seen people that cook the whole steak and then slice it after they cut it. But to me, it's just easier this way. So you're just going to want to slice it up just as thin as you can. And of course, you're going to get some that are super thin and some that are not. But just do the best you can. That's all we can do, y'all. The best we can, right? And you see right there, that's a little wonky, but that's about how thin I cut mine. So you're going to want to cut all these up, and if you run into some fat or whatever, you can always trim off whatever you need to. But these steaks really didn't have a ton of fat on them, so they were perfect for this. But anyway, honey, and if you slice it thin like this, it cooks a lot quicker, so you can eat a lot faster. If you're hungry, cut it thin, honey, because then you can cook it fast, and you'll be ready to eat. But like I said, just be real careful, because, this is a whole lot of cutting, and that steak, especially once it's been out for a minute while it's waiting to be cut, gets a little wiggly. So, all right, now I went ahead, before I start doing anything with my little griddle, I go ahead and butter my bread up, and y'all, I cut these myself, and they were about half squished from the store, so don't judge my poor bread. But we're just going to butter them up a little bit, and then we're going to put them down on our griddle and just get them good and toasted. Now, you can go ahead and just sit these in the oven so they'll stay kind of warm. And you can also do this on the stovetop if you want. I wish I had one of those big, nice, hibachi, things outside, but alas, I do not. So I thought, you know what, we're going to use the inside griddle. But I have normally done this in a pan, so that definitely works. But I just thought I would try it this way, because I have more room. I can spread everything out. So what you're going to want to do is put down a little bit of olive oil, a couple tablespoons on your griddle, spread it out. And that way, you don't just have dry vegetables on there, because they'll just kind of get charred and burned like that. And I didn't want mine like that. So I got it on kind of a low heat, and I'm just going to let these cook. I like mine really, really soft. If you like yours with a little bit of a bite to them, you don't have to cook them as long. I also added a little bit of salt to mine to go ahead and kind of help draw the water out, of the vegetables. So, but like I said, cook them to whatever level of doneness you like them. I like mine done. I don't like crunchy vegetables on my Philly cheesesteak. So you can see I cooked mine way down. So once your vegetables are done, you're going to go ahead and just put those in a bowl and sit them over to the side. And that way we can get our steak started cooking. Okay? And I always do my vegetables first, because it's a lot easier to kind of heat back up these little bitty pieces of vegetable than to try to reheat your meat, and then you end up drying your meat out and all that stuff. So cook your vegetables first. So then you're going to turn the fire up on your pan a little bit and add a little bit more olive oil on there. And then we're going to spread that out, and we are going to get our steak cooked. And like I said, I slice this really, really thin. And when you do it that way, it is not going to take long to cook them, okay? So, it looks like a lot of steps and a lot of, long process, but it really does not take very long at all. So you can certainly just dump this over onto your griddle and just move it around or whatever. But I like, I'm kind of weird about meat, y'all. So anyway, I tried to spread mine out as good as I could, but I wanted all of it to get on there. And so I just put it on there and I let it cook for a little while, and then I just flip all my little pieces over. Just cook them like you'd cook anything else. Once you get your meat done, and I like my meat done, if you like yours a little pink, feel free to have it a little pink. I started pulling them off, and I was like, nah, let me cook them. I want a little char on them. So I threw them back on there. But once you get your steaks all done like you wanted them, go ahead and put them on a cutting board. And then you're going to go ahead and take your knife and your little tongs there to kind of hold it, because that meat's hot. And for me, now this is a lot of preference in this recipe, y'all. I like my meat like fine, like chopped up. And if you don't like yours that way, you can leave it in the strips if you want to. Whatever you want. If you can cut it into medium-sized pieces, but I like little pieces in mine. I don't want to bite into a Philly cheesesteak and have a huge piece of meat. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But anyway, this is just the way I like mine, so that's the way I do it. So once I got it all chopped up, I was only going to make 2 of these. So you can put the other meat, you can freeze it, or you can save it for later, however you want to do. So I took half my meat and half my vegetables, and I just dumped them back onto my griddle, because I wanted to, number one, get my little vegetables heated back up a little bit. And then I wanted to, get all those flavors to kind of meld together on there. And we've still got to add cheese, y'all. So once you get your stuff all heated up, you're going to go ahead and just split these up. And I like to kind of shape mine into the, about the size my bun's going to be. So just get your little meat and vegetables all shaped up there. And then whatever kind of cheese you like, you can put on there. I have provolone, and I just put 2 slices on each of my little piles of meat. But you could certainly use mozzarella. You can use shredded cheese. Whatever kind of cheese you like to do will work fine. But I like provolone on my Philly cheesesteak. So once your cheese is nice and melted, you're just going to scoop it up and put it right over there on your bun. And my poor little buns had come apart, y'all. So like I said, don't judge my poor bread. But I just scoop everything up, put it right over there on my little bun. And that's it, y'all. These sandwiches are so doggone good. The flavor on the meat from like the Worcestershire sauce and all the stuff that it marinated in overnight, so dang good. And then of course you got that yummy melty cheese and those, sauteed onions and bell peppers. And season your vegetables, y'all. I did not show that, but I said I added salt. I did season those vegetables up a little bit too, okay? But this is it, y'all. These are so easy. They're so delicious. Make sure you try them. If you haven't ever tried them, or if you have and you want to eat them again, try them like this. I'm going to pop y'all another video right over here, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye, y'all.